What's up? What's up? I'm Renz Davis, and this is
Vincent and McojoLife. What's up, guys? We're here with
welcome.
a special guest, Rob from McdojoLife. You know him from Instagram, you know him from YouTube. Rob, what's up? How is your day going, my man?
Fantastic, man. Living the dream. I appreciate you guys having me on.
We're very pleased to have you here, man.
Yeah,
absolutely. Man. You're a great guy, but more importantly, you do the hard thing that a lot of martial artists still want to do. You call out what is constantly considered, you know, bullshittery, I guess.
Yeah. But, you know, first question. First question of the day, my man. I really want to ask you this. How did you start, doing this, and why did you start doing this? Because, it's like you said before we started the recording. It's almost like a job. But how did this whole thing start?
Well, I mean, I've been in the martial arts for about 23 years now. I started when I was 12 years old, and I've just stayed with it. I had the opportunity to be an instructor, and I owned a school and all that. But around the time I was like in my mid-20s, I was teaching jiu-jitsu. I was actually a coach there. So I was like a 2-stripe blue belt, just helping out with classes. Like the black belt would teach, but I would assist. And I started teaching. And then one day the black belt instructor was like, "Yo, dude, I'm not going to be able to make it today. Would you do me a favor? Just come in and cover class for me." I was like, "Yeah, no problem." So I went in, I taught like 1 or 2 techniques, and we sparred for the rest of the time. And we had a blast. And after the class was done, we all stood around chit-chatting, and we started talking about different topics, and the topic of McDojos came up. And so we kept talking about it. Then everybody left, except for one guy. That one guy kind of like stayed back. And it was like his second class in martial arts ever. And he just asked me, he goes, "Hey, man, I'm a little embarrassed. I didn't want to jump in y'all's conversation because I don't know what a McDojo is." And I was like, "Oh, well," I gave him what I feel is a McDojo, which is kind of now turned into the 5 rules of how I operate the page.
Yeah. For people that don't know, can you please, tell us those 5 rules?
Yeah. People who lie about their belt rank and fight record, pedophiles, people who rip people off financially, people who believe in no-touch knockouts, or they mislabel technique, and then cult-like behavior and shady business practices. So all of that kind of comes together into the 5 standard rules of what I do, because they're universal. It doesn't matter what martial art you train. You shouldn't molest kids, right? But there have been
absolutely.
There have been over 450 cases confirmed.
But it's almost every time in these McDojos, it's never, almost never hear it, in a legit MMA gym, where they also teach kids, occasionally. But I can't name I can't name any cases. You always see it, in these fake martial arts studios.
I mean, you see it even in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. You see it everywhere. Like,
oh yeah.
The thing about the rules that I set forth that I use anyway, and again, these are based on my opinion, are universal. So it doesn't matter if you do. For instance, David Arnbeck molested a 15-year-old girl in his home, and then he got off on a plea deal. He still runs 3 MMA gyms today.
That's pretty messed up.
Yeah, and he's still allowed around children. Wasn't put on a sex offender registry. I did a story yesterday.
Yeah, I saw this video.
We saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, this guy was recording people in dressing rooms, children in dressing rooms. He touched an 11-year-old girl, but because of the way that the case was handled, not put on a sex offender registry, can still be around children.
That's messed up.
Yeah, so people laugh when I say pedophilia, right? Like that's supposed to be common sense. It's not. Like,
no, absolutely
common sense. Yeah, but there's too many people that get away with it.
No, it's fair. Now that you mention that, I'm kind of surprised that there's not been like a To Catch a Predator that takes place inside of one of these McDojos. Like, they basically send like a decoy kid and see how the instructor reacts. And then when the kid that is supposed to walk out of the locker room, it's actually Chris Hansen, like, "Hi, I'm Chris Hansen." Well, why don't you keep your hands to yourself? Take a seat.
Yeah, go ahead and have a seat. Go ahead.
You want some cookies? I have some nice cookies.
Well, the only problem with that is something called grooming. So like whenever, in order to teach in the Catholic diocese, you have to actually take child abuse prevention courses, which are like anti-molestation courses, which are like kind of like the blueprint for how to molest a kid and get away with it.
Yeah, but that's the weirdest thing, to me, that's legal, because in most countries it's just, legal to have that on the internet, to have that, you have literally, like a blueprint, like you said, for how to,
Like, it's like the funny thing is like when you take this course, it's teaching you all the things that you're not supposed to do. like don't be alone with a child, all that stuff, right? And you're like, okay, cool, I take the course and I'm done. But if you were to take that course with the opposite mentality and go, okay, how do I not get caught? Just take that course because it's going to tell you all the things that people are looking for.
But you also mentioned, like labeling techniques. But what do you mean with that? One of your rules is like, false labeling techniques. But what do you mean with that?
So, like if somebody does like stunt performer work, right? It's stunt work. That's what they're labeling it as. So they're not trying to teach people self-defense. They're trying to teach them stunt work. So you can do anything with stunt work. I mean, you can teach self-defense with a piece of gum with stunt work, right? Because it's not
I wish.
Real. Yeah, it's fantasy, right? It's a bit. It's entertaining.
Yeah.
But when people try to take things like that and label them as self-defense, that's when it's dangerous. And the example that I usually like to use with that is when people if you ever switched orange juice with poison and you mix the labels. Like by themselves, when they're labeled correctly, there's nothing wrong with that. We know what they're for. But when you switch those labels, then they become dangerous. And so mislabeling is a huge part of the martial arts where a lot of people go, that's bullshit. Well, it's not bullshit. It's bullshit to you because that's not your goal in the martial arts. If your goal is self-defense, maybe that's not for you. But if your goal is weight loss, maybe it is.
Do you think martial arts... Do you think martial arts and self-defense can be different from each other? Because, we train in jiu-jitsu, I do MMA, Rens does also jiu-jitsu and things like that. But do you think, when, of course, martial arts helps, with self-defense, if you know how to fight, you know how to fight, you know how to handle yourself in a violent situation. But do you also think that, self-defense that is different from martial arts training?
I mean, they can be. I mean, they're not mutually exclusive. There's a reason they are two different words, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if they weren't two different things, they wouldn't have two different words.
Indeed.
So like, when it comes to like to martial arts, you have to remember martial is of war and arts is self-expression.
Yeah.
And so when you do martial arts, sometimes there might be more art than martial. You're right. So
that is true.
One of my favorite things to watch, and I really wish I would have done it when I was younger, and I regret not doing it because I know my knees can't do it now, is acrobatic kicking.
Oh, so
when you say acrobatic kicking, Taekwondo, okay.
I always think about Scott Atkins then.
Scott Atkins is a great example.
Oh, absolutely.
Fantastic. What they call tricking, which when I was a kid growing up through the NASCA and the WACO circuits, people like Taylor Lautner, Caitlin Deschelle, Matt Emig, Daniel Sterling, all of these people who became legends in that particular sport and obviously well known now if you are aware of who they are. But most people know Taylor Lautner because he did all the Twilight. But they're fantastic acrobatic kickers because they do sport karate, but none of them are fighters and none of them try to pretend that they are. They just say, I'm an entertainer, I'm a stunt worker, I'm a performer, but they're still martial artists just because they're not good at self-defense. It's like kind of like saying, who could beat up who? Well, that's a moot point. That doesn't really fucking matter in the end of the day because it's all about what your personal goals are in this. But that's that whole mislabeling thing, right? So if you're doing stuff like that, cool, have at it. If you're the guy in your house punching and kicking for fun, you'll never see yourself on my page. If you're training by yourself, you'll never see yourself on my page. The only time that you'll see anything on the page is if it breaks one of those 5 rules. And feel free, anybody, to go down and challenge me on that.
Yeah, but
I'll give you an answer.
I also never have seen you. You don't bully people. Some people call you. I see some hate comments. They call you a bully and things like that. But I'm like, this guy is not a bully. You only show. You only show realism. You keeping the martial arts legit.
I'm trying. Well, another thing that I think has helped tremendously within the last, I'd say, year. Is now every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern time, I go live on Instagram and I let anybody join. I could care less who they are. Doesn't matter. And if if they don't like what I've said, just talk to me about it. If they have something, they think I did something wrong, cool. Talk to me about it. Prove me wrong. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And I'm one of those people where I'll listen to what you have to say. I'm not going to drown you out. I mean, I had a guy come on the channel one time and he said that literally acting like a seahorse, like making little flipper hands and kicking your leg up behind you, right? He said that's how you gather chi to your back. And I was like, that's ridiculous. He was like, well, He's like, why don't you come to my show?
Give me a second. I'll give it a try very quickly.
Was he
I'm
serious?
trying. I'm not feeling it. Vincent, join in. Come on.
Not feeling no cheat. But like, so
I didn't feel any
cheat.
cheat. I just felt my biceps tightening up.
Was he?
And we talked for like an hour. Now,
was he serious? It wasn't a joke.
He was dead serious. It was a very fascinating conversation because he came on the live and we talked for an hour. Because back then, my Instagram would kick me off in an hour. Now, I don't know how long I can go. I've gone for at least 4 hours live before.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I was just like, all right, whoever wants to join. I was like, all right, well, fuck it. It's the day now. I was like, let's just keep going. And so this guy came on and he had a video that I had debunked and it was labeled Dance as Self-Defense. And he's
I know that video.
Yeah, he's quite literally teaching ballroom dancing and self-defense. So he mixed ballroom dancing with self-defense, which looks fun, but again, that's mislabeling. It's either for fun or it's for self-defense. And I'm sorry to tell you, but ballroom dancing might help some attributes, but it's not going to help you with your actual self-defense.
Yeah, it may help you with your athleticism.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, maybe with your athleticism, but you know that you can say that from weightlifting the same. Weightlifting doesn't help you with self-defense, but it kind of does because you get stronger. But
yeah, to just help you with your attributes, And when I was talking to him, he joined the live, and for the first 15 minutes, he told me how he did not teach dance of self-defense, and he was like, I was like, all right, fine. It's labeled that, literally labeled the way you put it, dance of self-defense. But all right, semantics, right? The next 15 minutes, he goes on to read me a thesis that he had written about how dance was the best way to teach self-defense. And in my head, I'm going, dude, you just spent 15 minutes telling me that you didn't do this. And now you're spending 15 minutes trying to justify that it's the best way to do it. I was like, I'm blown
tell you
away.
what, my only question would be is, what ballroom is this guy dancing in that he needs self-defense?
I mean, I guess it's like
seriously,
straight up mosh pit. I have no clue.
Pretty much.
Then I asked him, about his background. Had he had any, any maybe cage or ring experience, which goes a long way in my opinion. I think that even just one time, an amateur fight will change your perspective on how you look at self-defense because you have to feel it. There's no other way to really describe it. And so I have fight experience, and I asked him, like, dude, do you have any? And he was like, no. So it was like, so you're teaching people self-defense and you have no experience in the thing that you're teaching them. Like, can you see the hypocrisy here? And he was like, well, I think the people who haven't done the activity are better instructors at it. It's like, that's asinine. It's asinine. It's like saying I'm a great NASCAR driver even though I've never done it. I can teach you how to do it even though I've never been.
You can't learn how to swim without jumping in a pool.
All right, now here's the thing about NASCAR driving. All right turns. You mean left turns, right, Coach? No, right turns. Just trust me. It'll take them off. It'll take my surprise. You'll win for sure.
That's how I roll.
Exactly. By the way, talking about your experience, what martial arts have you practiced in?
We know that you're very good with nunchucks for sure. I've seen those videos. I'm always dang.
Yeah, I am skilled at the most useless weapon on the planet. So I've been in martial arts for 23 years of my life. I'm a third-degree black belt in karate, a third-degree black belt in McojoLife, which is a weapon system not too many people have heard of. I'm a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, a 6-0 amateur boxer, 4-2 amateur kickboxer. I was on an international kickboxing team for 2 years called Team Full Circle. I owned a martial arts studio for 4 years. I've been doing martial arts business consulting for 10 years, and I've been doing McdojoLife for around 8 or 9 years now.
That is quite the resume, my man. That is amazing.
And people still say that you don't know what you're talking about.
I try to practice getting it out there as quick as I can.
The way you just said it all just reminds me of the movie Liar Liar, where Jim Carrey is listing off all the things that he did while getting pulled over.
Yeah.
It was just very well and fluid. I was like, wow, that was impressive.
A lot of practice. Yeah, man, I love this job. I love the martial arts. I think it's super beneficial to people, and I really hate seeing people get ripped off.
I think bullying. I think bullying in school would almost be done for when every kid at least learned like wrestling, jiu-jitsu, or boxing.
Because, I think there's a lot of social faux pas going on when it comes to that statement. But at the end of the day, I think that having the ability to protect yourself with the right mentality goes a long way. But I think there are two misconceptions when it comes to martial arts, in my opinion. Again, I could be wrong. This is just how I feel. One, the whole, like, if you stand up to a bully, they'll leave you alone. That's bullshit. That is utter bullshit. That's the stupidest shit I ever fucking heard in my life. Mostly because I was there. That's how I started martial arts. I got the shit beat out of me every day until I was 12 years old. So I know what that feels like. And one thing I learned was standing up to a bully and winning goes a long way. Yeah. Standing up to a bully and you can't fight your way out of a paper bag, you just chum the water. All you did was let all the other sharks know that you can't fight.
But, you know, even if you lose the fight, you know, if you gave them a good fight, you know, that also goes a long way, in my opinion.
Yeah, but if you get your ass beat, it doesn't. Yeah, that guy sucks. All right, well, whoops. Well, I guess we'll beat him up tomorrow again. We know he can't fight.
And that's where the martial arts come in.
And then the other misconception, I think, is that martial arts in general teach you, like, specific things about your personality. I don't think that your instructor's goal 9 times out of 10 is to add those traits. I think those things naturally come on their own with you. Because I've met plenty of people who've been in the martial arts for years and years, and they were complete assholes, and they like still picked on people. They still beat people up. Like, the martial arts didn't teach them any of those other things because that's not what they were there to learn. I think you're going to learn out of this what you're trying to get out of this. And you know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of like Google. If you Google and you're only looking for the answer you're looking for, you will always find that answer. But in the martial arts, the same thing. If you're only looking to be a violent dick and you want to be able to have an upper hand over people to beat them up, you will. And that's who you will become. And
you know, that's also why I'm happy, you know, so many good people also, you know, practice in martial arts, because, you know, if only the bad people practice in martial arts, you know, it's the same with, you know, the only thing that beats a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun with a better shot.
Or a little guy with a better gun.
Yeah, that's true. Or a really, really good guy with a slingshot. Just saying. You don't see the guy with a slingshot like...
It's like David versus Goliath. With
exactly. Goliath walks in like, you expect me to believe this little guy's going to kill... What the...
Ow, my face.
Yeah. Ow, Marsha.
But, you know, talking about fake martial artists, you know, my favorite of all time, you know, George Dillman. What is your opinion on him? And his whole system, by the way.
The funny thing about Dillman is Dillman, when he was younger, like in his early 20s, actually even younger than that, because he's been a martial artist like since he was a child. But he actually used to compete heavily. The problem is that all that footage of like when he did compete was like way back in the day. We're talking like when VHS wasn't like a thing everyone could carry. And so like, even if you look like back in the day, his heyday, even getting any footage of those tournaments back then was difficult because they just haven't converted. Like, so even like, that's why there isn't a lot of stuff on Bruce Lee. And the only stuff that is on Bruce Lee is from like, you know, when he was in California for like what was the Ed Parker Invitational or something like that.
Yeah.
And like,
sometimes, you know, I've seen one sparrings video of him.
Yeah, it's super grainy, not good video. Well, I mean, there wasn't good video footage back then at all anyway. And so that's kind of when Dillman was doing his thing. But then like, I think what I call it is the Steven Seagal syndrome is so like Steven Seagal was a legitimate martial artist, I think, as far as I can tell, when he was younger. And then he got an opportunity to be in movies. And when he did, he blew up. I mean, his first 2-3 movies were fucking fantastic. You know, and then I think he was surrounded by yes men. And I think they boosted the ego that he already had and made it worse. I think Dillman's the same. The only difference is Seagal had movies to lean on. He was like, you know what? I might be an asshole, but I still have movies. And so he was able to he keeps pumping them out. Like every month, another made-for-TV movie comes out, direct to digital. But Dillman didn't have that. Dillman didn't have movies. But what he did have was control. And so he had control of being the big fish in the small pond. And so what he decided to do was rather than putting all of his focus and energy into movies, he put all his focus and energy into his style and his art to maintain power and control. And so he had all these yes men that were around him. Well, how do you continue to prove that you're better and better and better without being unrealistic or without being, I guess you could say, getting older? Because as we get older, we're going to suck. Like, that's just how it is. I'm not going to be able to kick anybody's ass when I'm 90. That's all there is to it. I'm going to get a gun and hope my hand will hit whatever I'm aiming at. Yeah. But Dillman, in order to maintain power, I think he made the structure and built this like bullshit art around him being the figurehead of it. And then he was the guy that could give you the secret technique. He was the guy that had all the information you wanted. And so by the time you worked your way up to learn, oh man, they're knocking people out of their mind, you were already in. He had already had you. You had already
totally
been there
get what you're saying.
You know, so he's probably
You know, with Steven Seagal, you know, I totally agree with you, you know, that he's a legit martial artist, you know, only the martial arts, you know, that's the questionable thing. To me.
Well, I mean, but the thing is like, again, Steven Seagal, his ego is blown up to the point now where he's assaulted people on set, he's molested women, like, you know, he's got what, multiple, at least 24 stories from different celebrities about how much of a dick he is. Hillman never had that, but he does have control of his followers. So he's like one of the biggest martial arts cult leaders ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is kind of a hard thing to wager who's the bigger one, but I gotta say that size-wise, I think Steven Seagal is getting a little bit bigger every time by 10 pounds.
Yeah, and he's a big guy. He's like 6 foot something, 6'3", 6'4". He's not a little guy.
No, he's easily 6'4", 6'3", or something like that.
He's tall, you know.
But man, like, he is round.
Yeah, he's really.
But you know,
but you know, it's the same with Aikido. You know, the martial arts. You know, I'm always like, you know, like Rance also says, you know, the wrist locks can work. You know, when you already have somebody pinned on the ground. You know, with wrestling or with jiu-jitsu. So it's a problem on its own, and you see that with most of these bullshit martial arts, you know. That's
like a good way to phrase it, in my opinion, is there's no one perfect martial art. Like Taekwondo is a good example of that. I would consider Taekwondo more supplementary because of the way it has kicks. But if you were to add a form of boxing or kickboxing into it, you would have a much more solid martial art with the kicking of Taekwondo and the stand-up defense with boxing and hands.
Yeah,
but just like Aikido, I think it kind of supplements into like jujitsu or judo quite well. Not the whole spectrum.
So no matter what martial art you do, you can't get away from your natural body mechanics. Your body works the way that it works. And so all martial arts really do, in my opinion, is they put an emphasis on how they win the fight. So like in jujitsu, the goal is to get to a dominant position and submit. The goal in Taekwondo is to keep you at distance and use my legs. The goal of boxing is to be able to keep you in boxing range to use my hands. The goal in like wrestling is to get a hold of you, pin you down to the ground so that way you can't move. So each art, the only real thing that changes from art to art is intent. So the intent of karate and the intent of boxing and intent of kickboxing, they're all different. But like a front kick is in every one of those arts.
Yeah, but you know, that's with everything. You know, they say when Tony Ferguson, you know, he used the hand trap and then the elbow on over top, you know, with against Anthony Pettis, I believe. Thing, very Wing Chun. But you know, you also see that same hand trap in Muay Thai. So he said himself, you know, that it was from Wing Chun. But like you said, you know, everything that works, you see it in all the martial arts. You know, front kick, you have the karate one, the kickbox one, Muay Thai. You know, every technique that works, you know, you see them in all the martial arts.
Well, even like Wing Chun, everybody gives Wing Chun a hard time. A lot of the concepts in Wing Chun, they apply in everything that you're going to do in jiu-jitsu. A lop sao is a pulling hand. So you like if you take that and you put it into jiu-jitsu or wrestling, that's an arm drag. It's the same shit, exact same shit, just different purpose. If you look at a pak sao is pushing hand. There's been so many times where I've been mounted where I take somebody's hands and shove them down to their chest so I can get a better angle on a triangle choke. Or I have to move an arm between my legs, or I have to move. That's a pak sao.
Yeah.
If you talk about center line theory, you know, if the person on top in guard is reaching across and you pin your chest to their arm, now their arm's stuck, you can shoot off to the side and take the back. So like
that's a very good point.
Yeah, it's all the same shit. The only difference is intent. That's it.
Yeah. But, you know, some people just get culture, you know, they get very tribal, you know, like I have a guy, you know, I'm not mentioning his name again. Sorry, Rance, otherwise you have to cut it out.
Not a problem, no worries.
But, you know, that guy, you know, he's full of chi is the way to go, you know, and everything else, you know, is
Tai Chi, no.
I don't care, Rance, you know, then you gotta bleep that out. But, you know, the guy, he really, you know, MMA, you know, kickboxing, you know, everything sucks. And he's, you know, serious. I first thought, you know, he was a troll, but he's completely serious. What do you Tai Chi, by the way?
You know, like I think that it's not really a self-defense art. It's Tai Chi, something I'll probably do when I'm like in my 60s.
Same.
It'll allow me to continue to move my body. Yeah. And the funny thing about like a lot of people associate with Tai Chi. You hear Tai Chi, you automatically think chi because the word's in there. Right?
Get that chi up, guys.
And with all the seminars and shit that I've taken, I've seen some kooky people out there who teach utter nonsense. But like in every culture, there's a different form of chi. So you have chi, which is funny when people correct me when I spell it differently because it's different in every culture. So whoever wants to correct me, feel free to come on live and chit chat with me. But there's chi, right? CHI. There's ki, KI. There's tenaga dalam, which is basically an Indonesian form of chi. And each culture, and then ki, QI. But in each culture, they all have they all have their own.
Even in Western culture, like the soul. But continue. Sorry.
No, it's all good. No, but they each have their own version of what they consider chi. And in each one of those cultures, what it's considered is different. So one might be an internal energy, like an actual thing where you can push and pull things with your mind using the magical chi. And others, it's just air. That's all it translates into. It's just oxygen. And others, it's a deep-rooted spiritual belief, like in Indonesia. They're Tenaga Dalam. I've seen kids get killed because they got run over by trucks because they believed that the Tenaga Dalam would save them. I saw a kid slit his own throat because a part of Tenaga Dalam is they can basically harden their skin. And there's a video that's gone around. Most people have seen this video where it's a guy and he's on like some type of a National Geographic type show, and he's like wrapping his arm with just his hand, and he's like basically like hyping up the chi in his arm. Then he takes this machete and
yeah, I saw this video. Oh, horrifying.
And then he's surprised that he got cut. Well, of course you're supposed, like, because that guy didn't have time to perform the actual magic trick.
Oh God.
So
that's like the kids that think they can fly after seeing Superman or like an anime. They go to the top of the building. It's like, okay, I can do it this time. I promise. You got the mattress pad down there? Let's do it.
Oh, horrible. But people really believe this though. But why do you think that people, believe, or want to believe in this so much? Because if you look at George Dillman, everyone in the right mind, we know we don't have superpowers. We know, a chi ball, that doesn't work. But he still has so many followers, all around the globe. Why do you think that is? Why do you think, people want to believe it?
And follow-up question, do you think George Dillman believes it? Because I know he's peddling it, but does he believe it is a better question.
Well, the easier one to answer is how do you get people to fall for it, right? And so this is an experiment I do with pretty much everybody who asks this question. So if you guys don't mind, can I get one of you guys to role play for me real fast?
Yeah,
no
problem.
I'm in.
All right, cool.
Rance, so you have the honor.
You're going to sign up. You're going to be a sign up at my martial arts studio, okay? And I'll be the instructor for the studio, and you're going to come in for your first day, your trial class, okay? So in martial arts, we don't do cold calling, really. Martial arts doesn't really do cold calling. You have already called us. You already want the product that we're selling. So that's how it always starts, right? All I have to do is get you signed up. So you walk into the door, right? Hey, man, how's it going? Rob, nice to meet you.
Hi, how's it going? Renz, nice to meet you.
Hey, dude, what brings you in? What makes you want to do this?
I want to learn the art of self-defense.
Okay, cool, man. Is there any particular reason why?
I am afraid of everyone, and I need my safe space to be safer.
All right, cool, man. So I have a question. Are you coming from home or work?
From home.
All right, cool. How long have you been thinking about doing something like this?
Since I saw Cobra Kai. It looks like a very good program.
A couple of years you've been thinking. Cobra Kai's like 4 years old. All right, cool, man.
Love that show.
Yeah, it's coming to Netflix, by the way.
So.
Season 3, son. But yeah, cool. So let's say hypothetically you wanted to do this for anything more than self-defense. I have to imagine that since you're going to be here training and stuff like that, you already have the support of your family to do something like this. They're encouraging you.
They are.
All right, cool. Awesome. It's always good to have like a support system. So let's say if today worked out great for you, we have classes Monday through Friday at this time. What days will work out for you? How many days a week do you think you could train?
I could definitely do Mondays and Wednesdays. Are those available?
Cool. Awesome. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, they are. And now most people who train here usually train about 2 to 3 times a week. All right. So
awesome.
Pause. So that is 90% of signing you up. No matter what we do on the mat, no matter what happens for the rest of the class, I've got you probably signed up. And that little conversation. Now, here's why. And these are an important why for understanding how the start of brainwashing works for these studios. There is something called the 5 objections. The 5 objections are very simple. Most people don't like conflict. So most people don't tell you the word no. Most people give you an excuse. And so if, let's say, hypothetically, you wanted to give me an excuse, it'd probably be one of these 5. I don't have the time. I don't have the money. I have to think about it. It's too far away. I have to talk to my spouse. So we've eliminated 4 of those already. You can no longer tell me it's too far away because you just told me you were coming from home. You can't tell me that you have to think about it because you've been thinking about it for over 4 years.
That's a good point.
You can't tell me you got to talk to your spouse because you already told me that they support you in what you're doing right now, right? And you told me already, you can't tell me you don't have the time because you already told me that you can commit to 2 days a week already.
Damn.
And a casual
Did I pass the test? I feel like I may have passed the test in a way.
Well, I mean, there's no real passing the test. The goal is
dang, I was shooting for a 90.
Can I get you to sign a piece of paper? That's it. If I can get past these 5 objections, you're signing that paper. Unless unless you just didn't have a good time, and then you just say the word no. But I'm telling you, 99% of people over the last I've been in this business, at least working, doing it like full time as a job for 18 years as a full-time career. And I got to tell you, like, no one says no. And so all you have to do is get around the objections. Now, the only other one is just money. And money is honestly the easiest objection to get around. Is because before you even got here, I should have called you several times to establish how much money you really have. But that's a whole different set of brainwashing. And that's a little bit more detailed. That take up the entire class. But like, let's say,
makes sense.
Let's say you get there. All I have to do basically is just make the price today cheaper than it will ever be anywhere else. So if I just say, normally it's going to cost you $150 a month. If you sign up today, it'll only be $100 a month. Normally we do $150 registration fee. I'll waive that for you today. Normally your uniform will cost about $100. I'll waive that and give you a free uniform if you sign up today. So I just saved you a fuckload of money, even monthly payment. And then now you go, I got to think about it. All right, cool. Well, when you come back tomorrow, all those things come back. This is today. And so if it's really money is the real issue, they'll sign up that day.
Makes sense. Definitely worth haggling for if they're like trying to get people in the door, because it's easier to like let go of that much money on that day and then collect all that money that's coming down the line.
They just put the pressure on you, to make that decision, right on the spot.
No, it's
true. I'm just letting you know, I'm giving you a deal today. I'm actually relieving pressure. Because the pressure comes tomorrow when you show back up and try to sign up. And I tell you, all right, well, now it's going to be $150 for classes. Now it's going to be an extra $150 registration fee. And then the pressure will be you trying to haggle. There is no haggling. I'm haggling for you. I'm taking away over $400 right now. And if you want to, you can. If not, cool. It's that simple.
Yeah.
A pressure is all in how you handle a person, right? Because when we were just shooting the shit talking about Cobra Kai, that wasn't high pressure sales. That was just
To be honest, I thought we were going to talk a bit more about Cobra Kai. I was kind of like, oh my God, yes, finally, it's arrived.
But that's step 1. Now I get you signed up for a year. I have an entire year to slowly but surely indoctrinate you into our system, whatever the system may be. And even like a lot of people talk about how jiu-jitsu is like not culty. All martial arts are culty. Yeah. They're all extremely culty.
That's true.
So like there's a thin line between martial arts and religion and a cult. In my opinion, I think they're all very similar. And if you go like talk about jiu-jitsu, for instance, everybody wants to talk about like jiu-jitsu as this holy establishment. Jiu-jitsu is just as fucked up as everything else, right? When you walk in, you probably bow on the mat. 9 times out of 10, bow on the mat, right? What's on the wall? There's a picture of the master.
Usually Helio Gracie.
Yeah. What's on the floor? There's one guy or two standing over there while the rest of you stand on the other side or in a semicircle or a circle, and you watch that one person talk to you and give you information. Well, if you walk into like a Catholic mass, you walk in, you may have to like hit the holy water, right? Anoint yourself. Yeah. I'm not Catholic, right? Or you might take a knee before you go into the pew and do the same thing, right? That's like bowing. Then you sit down. Then there's another guy on the other side of you, and he's teaching you a lesson on stage while you listen. Then behind him is a statue of Jesus, right? Yeah. All of the things are eerily similar. So a lot of people on their own choose to make martial arts their religion. They just do it naturally, even if they haven't been coerced to do so. Then it's super easy to manipulate them to do whatever you want. Yeah. You'll see a lot of this with assistant instructors who work like 4 or 5 hours a day at the Jiu-Jitsu Academy or the school for free. Like that's bullshit, but they think that it's great.
Yeah. Yeah, because they love it. But that's also, Jiu-Jitsu is a legit martial arts. It really, teaches you how to fight, how to defend yourself. It's really, and that's mostly why people, give Jiu-Jitsu a pass in that regards. Because, when also the fighting ability sucks, that you learn from martial arts. And on top of that, they're very culty, then people will just say, that's a McDojo.